Yo, what the fuck? We got Jared, Lord of the Beats, me, Lord of the Raps. You already know what we on for that. Yellow machine, bitch. I gotta get out the bed and get out my head and get out the doubt. A drought came and left and since brought a plague. A nigga too sick, the lyrics too slick, my pen and no.
Welcome to Unsigned Hype episode 31. On this episode, I have the pleasure to talk to the incredible artist Che from New York. Prior to interview, I asked Che which song he would play for someone that wasn't familiar with his music yet. Che chose his new song, Yukon Gold, and if you're not familiar with Che's music yet, here's a snippet of that song before we jump into the interview.
Y'all stay sleeping. I got the keys to the world and my belt loop fell. The hell roof derailed and fell, but came back to tell truth. The champ is stamped and revamped with God's fruit. And damn, they don't understand when my niggas getting jiggy for 50 underpants through the city popping willies trying to hit the promised land. Ain't no curves on my hurn, but I'm proud of where I am. Everything is, nigga, everything is gold, gold. Everything is gold, yo. Everything is, nigga, everything is gold, gold. Everything is, everything is.
This is Unsigned Hype. The song you just heard is called Yukon Gold by Che, who's joining me from LA today. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome you to the show. Che, why is Yukon Gold the song that you would play for someone that has never heard your music before?
I'd say because it's my most recent song. It's my newest song. It's off my upcoming EP, Yellow Machine. And I really feel like with this record, I was able to tap into the hyper lyricism that I was expressing on my first project, Ghost Log Cabin, with the maturity and the development that I've undergone and like expressed in my follow-up project, my self-titled album. And it's kind of the perfect mush of the two together. I mean, at least perfect for now. I hope to like, you want to, as an artist, always be making the next song. Oh, this is the best song. But from where I'm at right now, I feel like Yukon Gold as a lyricist, as a rapper, as a storyteller, and as someone who likes to have these lyrically dense songs still be enjoyable and fun, and you can, when you hear them in a live context, jump around and mosh too. I feel like Yukon is the perfect melting pot of all of these different sectors of who I am as an artist.
You were mentioning hyper lyricism. Can you define that for me?
Hyper lyricism, I made it up just now. But hyper lyricism, I believe, is just very in-depth, intricate, and personal lyrics. Like sometimes I think people confuse lyricism with syllable count or speed or things of that nature, and that's really not what lyricism is. Lyricism, in my eyes, is how well you can paint the picture. Now, the picture doesn't have to be super personal to the person, right? You could just be swag rapping. Like Dipset I think are amazing lyricists, but they're just talking shit. Like they're just swag rapping, but they paint the picture so beautifully. Someone like Quelle Chris is so unique and like unorthodox, and he doesn't always have to be talking about something super, deep and introspective. But when he does, he paints the picture in such a unique way, using his own verbiage, his own cadences and swag, and clearly injecting his own personal life into these lyrics that may have nothing to do with himself. So in my eyes, hyper lyricism is just how well you can paint the picture using your own personal vernacular, style, unorthodox nature, etc.
I mean, I'm not surprised you're using that term. As an adolescent, I think you've always wanted to become an author. You've always been writing. You started writing first songs at like 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
What's inspiring you to do that back then?
I was really, funnily enough, I was in school, I was in middle school, and we were studying the Harlem Renaissance. And during like our Harlem Renaissance period in English and history, we had to, of course, read a lot of poetry and a lot of like short form literature from like, Langston Hughes or different like writers and authors and creatives from that period of time. And it really left a big impact on me as a kid. And I'm not sure why. I mean, I guess it was getting in tune with my culture and my heritage and understanding the struggle and the strife of being a Black man in America, being a Black person in America, but then also seeing the beauty that can come out of that struggle and strife. It was really impactful on like the 12-year-old Che brain. And I think from that moment on, and then at the same time discovering like Good Kid, Mad City, which is like the modern equivalent to that, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I have to learn how to do that. And then couple that with just my natural love for books and literature and writing. I think the Harlem Renaissance period of time that we were studying in school really left a big impact on me and pushed me to be a writer.
If we take music as an example now, I'm really curious to hear your perspective on good songwriting. How do you determine what is good songwriting versus bad songwriting now that you've been an artist for a couple of years and have a lot of experience in that regard?
It kind of connects back to the hyperlyricism conversation. It's just authenticity. It's authenticity, and I really love lyrics that are so personal to the person that it feels almost a little invasive at times, or it feels like you're getting a sliver of their brain. That's why I'm going to bring back Quelle Chris. When I hear him rap, that's Quelle Chris. Like, that's his brain. The way he speaks in music is probably similar to the way he speaks in real life. It's an honest reflection of him. Like, every person has sayings or jokes, inside jokes with themselves or inside jokes with their friends that if a random person just eavesdropped and heard that, they'd be like, what is that? That's clearly super unique to that person's relationship with themselves or another person. And I think great lyricism, if we date it back to like old school lyricists or modern lyricists, both in hip hop and outside of hip hop, it's about authenticity and expressing yourself in a genuine way that you would express yourself to like the average Joe. I think in the modern musical landscape, writing has gotten really diluted. And that's not me trying to be like a mumble rap sucks. I love like Thug and Cardi. And I think they express their ideas and they express their personality in a very unique way. So they're not like the traditional lyricists, but their lyricism comes from how authentic, how organic the way they're conducting themselves in the music is. And I think that's what makes for great lyricism, whether you're trying to bar out, whether you're a singer, whether you're a punk artist, whether you're, an Atlanta trap dude. It's just, okay, this is my personal style, my personal story. How do I get that out there without sounding like a million other people doing it?
So I'm assuming that, the lyrics and the writing of artists you admire and you admired when you were growing up, like Childish Gambino and A$AP Rocky and even Bryson Tiller. Is that the thing that you pay really close attention to?
Yeah, I don't remember talking about Bryson publicly, but that's awesome that I do love Bryson Tiller, dude. I think what I learned from them was I wasn't necessarily paying attention. I was paying attention to the stories as a consumer, but I was more so paying attention to how they arrived to that place. Like, what made them want to get that out of themselves? What made that? What made them get that out of themselves? And then with my own journey in music, because when I started off making music, I was terrible. Like, most people are not that great, but I was especially terrible when I first started. And I was just like a lot of people do. I was just regurgitating stuff that I had seen and liked. But when it came to the point of me, okay, I want to be myself, I was looking at those artists and looking at their lyrics and how they conducted themselves lyrically. And I was enjoying it. But then I went, what about their personal life experience made them put pen to paper? How did they, in the studio or creatively independently, sit in the room or sit wherever and go, okay, this is the way I need to handle making this song or making this album so I can pull the more organic and true statements and sentiments out of myself. So that's how I looked at those artists in terms of breaking down lyricism, their lyricism and my own lyricism.
You saying that in the beginning you were not good and your music wasn't good. How do you gauge that when did you record your first song? Like, when was that, around 13, 14 as well?
Yeah. 13, 14.
Take me back to that. How do you end up in a booth or in front of a microphone recording a first song?
So I was still am a big fan of like the SoundCloud era of hip hop. And when I was like 12, 13, 14, that's when it was like kind of becoming a thing. And a lot of my friends at the time were really into it as well. And just almost as not even a joke, but just, we were so enamored by people doing it at the time that we were like, we got to do this too. Like, and I already had the background of loving Kendrick and loving all these other like rap, like legitimate established rappers, that me and my friends at the time would just go to someone's crib who happened to have a microphone or Apple earbuds and record into that and be like, yo, we just made this song. Like, this is so sick. Like, we're going to put this on SoundCloud. Because at the time, my brain, SoundCloud had introduced us to the idea of you can just put it out there yourself. You can just create it. But to fully answer your question in terms of like, why do I think it's not good? I maybe saying it's bad is not the right word. It was the building blocks, right? I was figuring a lot of stuff out in real time, you know, and I hadn't at the time had a mentor or a guide to be like, hey, don't do this. Hey, do that. Hey, don't rap like this. Don't write like this. This is not true to who you are. And it was a process of like, you know, trial and error and trying to rap like Smoke Perp for some reason, and then trying to rap like Chance the Rapper, and then trying to rap like Rocky, and then trying to rap like a bunch of other Beano, until eventually I was like, I think I can kind of mix the things I like and then also inject myself. And then we got to Ghost Log Cabin, which was project one. And that was the time, that was the moment working with Jared on that, where I was like, oh, I think I figured it out. At least the beginning stages of it, the beginning stages where I can give this to the public.
This is going to get super surgical now, because I'm in my mind, I have like this idea for a question, and I'm not really sure how I'm going to ask it.
Hit
but
me
I'm
with
trying,
it. Man.
I'm trying to get to this aspect of, okay, so you obviously have influences, and in the beginning you want to rap like your favorite rappers. Where does this moment start where you start identifying your own twists that you put into your music? Like, is it possible to give an example of that? Is it like, you know, there's so many different flows, obviously, there's so many different cadences, styles, etc. But like, how do you define what's yours?
I got a good story for you. I got a good story for you that I've never told anybody because I've been too scared.
Okay.
I'm going to try to weave this story the best way I can. I don't even know what I should say, but I'm going to say it because it's funny. I had a studio session when I was a kid, when I was young, before Ghost Log Cabin, before I even started working on it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a session with my first ever real deal studio session. I booked a studio space and I was excited and I was geeked, and I had found like this really nice studio space in the city of New York. And to say the least, it did not go great. Like me and the producer got along really well. We had these tracks, and it just, when it came down time to actually put the pieces of the songs together, I wasn't super confident in it. And also it was my first time in the studio. We were doing song by song, back to back to back. And like in hindsight, that's not really my workflow, but we do that. And then we hear rumblings that in the studio building, there is an unnamed, very popular music personality. And we're like, oh my God, what? He's in the building, da 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 da. And for some reason, he comes into our session. And I guess he had known, like, the person who ran the studio was like an acquaintance or like a family friend at the time. And he was like, oh, come in and check this out, these guys out. And we had not asked for that. He comes in, sits down, we play track one. He's on his phone, not saying a word, not bopping his head, nothing. We play track two, nothing. Play track three, he's damn near like 1 foot out the door already. And then we play track four, and at this point, no one's talking. We're all like completely demoralized. We finish the final track, and he looks up from his phone, and he looks directly at me and goes, "That was you rapping?" And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "I just don't believe you. I don't believe a single word that came out of your mouth."
What?
And I was like 15. And he was like, "I just don't believe a single word that came out of your mouth. I don't believe any of it."
We're talking celebrity.
I'm saying, if I told you this person's name, you'd be like, "Holy shit!" Like,
yeah.
This is someone who
tell me. I'm curious after the interview.
This is someone who I grew up seeking out their content and seeking out their content, and then being like, seeing them talk to certain people and getting inspired from that. And he goes, "I just don't believe you. I don't believe a single word that came out of your mouth." And then he just got up and he was like, "You got to go back in the booth and do that with some passion." He just got up and walked out. And I was like,
wow, okay.
Holy shit. Like, I sat there, I was like, holy shit. We packed up the studio session. I went back home to my mom, told her the story. And like, literally, like, almost broke. I was like, this is not for me, clearly. And my mom, my rock, my best friend, we had like a long, like A24 movie-esque sit down on the roof, like talk about this. And she asked me, she said, "What do you think you are? Are you an artist? Are you creative? Are you someone who feels passionate about the actual makings of this thing?" do you think you want to do this? And I was like, absolutely. And then she was like, well, then who cares? Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, great advice. It's true.
Who cares what he has to say? If you think that this is for you, who cares if he believes you? Do you think you put your best foot forward in those songs? And I was like, no, not really. He goes, then moving forward, do better. That's all you can do. From that moment, I was like, okay, I'm taking this a lot more seriously. Not because someone dunked on me, but because I want to take pride in my work. And when I give it to people, regardless of whether they respond positively or not, I want to be like, this is me. Whether you like it or not is irrelevant, but this is 100% me. And it was a little cruel, but there was a nugget of truth in his criticism that I did take with me, and it did transform my life a little bit. So as much as I do think that was a bit of an asshole move, it was true.
Yeah.
And it helped a lot in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he knew exactly what he was going to do to you in that moment, you know? Maybe he knew exactly that was going to get... The thing I was going to ask you is if in hindsight you thought that there was some truth to what he said, or you could kind of understand where that came from.
There was definitely truth to what he said. Did he say it in maybe the worst way ever? 100%. Was it super mean? 100%. But does that negate the truth? No. There was truth in it. And I think having that conversation with my mother afterwards really got me to see that, because she was of the mindset at the time, yeah, he was being lame, but what he said should push you further into your dream, not out of it. And that's the crossroads that a lot of artists come to. Is there's a lot of trials and tribulations, stuff that's happened to me in my life recently, that you think is a sign of like the end is nigh, run back. It's actually a sign to push forward into it.
What year was that when that happened?
Oh my God. I think I was going into sophomore year of high school. I think it was the summer going into sophomore year of high school. I don't fully remember. Maybe it was freshman year, but it was definitely the summer going into sophomore year of high school, something like that.
Okay. So
yeah.
7 years ago, approximately.
Yeah. Like I was like 14.
So 2017. So there's a couple of years that go by until you release your first project after that incident happened. Is it true that did it take you like seven years approximately to get that project done, or did I?
No, I mean, it wasn't 7 hard years of in the studio working on it every day, but I think it was a 7-year process of figuring out what I liked, figuring out how I wanted to rap, figuring out what story I wanted to tell, then meeting the right producer and sitting and really cultivating my skills with them, and then going, okay, we're going to make a project, and then producing that project and getting it out. In terms of hard, like we're just working on Ghost Log Cabin, it took about, I think 2 years, maybe 3. I forget. I have a terrible memory with dates, but definitely I wanted to make Ghost Log Cabin forever. I just didn't know I wanted to make Ghost Log Cabin. Like my earliest songs where I'm really dialing into what would later become my sound is just like Ghost Log Cabin beta music. Like it's the fetus of the idea of Ghost Log Cabin songs, the fetus of the like Tiramisu or Ayúdame or August. And I knew I wanted to go somewhere with it, but I didn't have the skills or the understanding of music at the time to go there.
No, I think it's interesting that the 7-year whole process of creating that project was kind of coincided with the start of that comment that was made to you in that studio, and 7 years later you have your first project, and you've shared 3 tracks, I think in March of 2021 that you kind of went out with before then releasing the whole album a month later, I think in April 2021. When was the moment for you? Again, I'm alluding to that moment in the studio where you kind of got discouraged. When was the moment in that process of recording the album when you felt like, I got something here, like this is it? So
I met Jared and we worked on a song. The first time I ever met Jared was a session. We met, worked on a song, and we got along like super well. We clicked almost immediately. And the song that we made ended up not coming out. But at the time, that was my best song. And I was like, oh my God, what I just did with that guy is what I've been trying to do. Like that, it's not like that vibe. I hit it a little bit with him. So we met up again. The next session we made Let Me Try. which was the first song off Ghost Log Cabin. The third session, we made Tiramisu. The fourth session, we made, I believe it was Louisville Slugger. And then at that point, we're like, yo, we're rolling a little bit. Like, we got some juice. And he was the one who suggested, let's just make this a project. And I had remember telling him, like, I was workshopping project names, and I had just randomly said Ghost Log Cabin. And he was like, that's it. That's the project. This is Ghost Log Cabin. And I was like, okay, cool. And once we decided that, after we made Louisville Slugger, we were just in the studio consistently, and we smoked the rest of the record. And now it's yours.
With a mouthful of cinnamon, synonyms tell a story of how a boy lost his innocence. Opposition, stay diligent, self-destruction is imminent. Yeah, I always stay vigilant, closet scuffing for skeletons. Hold up, old Che died out in Chelsea. Pump fake, past my demons with a belt. Please don't stay. All these bottles can't be healthy. Old days cloud my mind. I can't love him, no way. But they say peyote take the pain away. Heaven's sake, popping Christmas like the cradle days, and grandma ain't got shit to say, shit to spew, and a lot of blood to ooze. I've been holding daggers in my living room. There's a little kick inside that chronic. Well, I sipping on her tonic. Time is ticking, if I'm honest, I'm just waiting patiently. I play with these old memories to reignite a form of me that was destroyed previously. Cheek and tongue, cars like Cheech and Chong's, broken glass from bombs. Mine is gone, out to right his wrongs, writing them the songs. Yeah, I stunk, man, I miss my mom. What's inside the trunk? Trick, sick niggas, the quips they all miss. If the glove fits, nigga, then poke my pop shit. He the big boom flipper, flip out. If I flick my wrist, what's bigger?
This was a snippet of Chess' song, Let Me Try. And now back to the interview. Jared Evan is also an incredible talent, just like yourself.
Juggernaut.
Incredible singer, producer, rapper. He produced the entire album, I think.
Both, the last two, Che and Ghost Log Cabin, and Yellow Machine, which is coming out. He's done all of them.
Did you have a relationship with him prior to Ghost Log Cabin? Like, how does that come about? Because let's say he was at that time, I would assume, a bit more established than you are as an artist and with a bit more experience, if I'm not mistaken. It's not every day that someone that is more established, takes on a young emerging artist. Did you ever talk about that? What his reasoning was? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so the reason we even connected in the first place was because we had at the time like family friends who knew each other and knew him directly. And my family friend at the time was like, "Oh, Che wants to make music. Are you down to make a song with him?" And Jared was going on his own personal journey at the time, and he was like, "Yeah, fuck it, why not?" And even recently had this discussion, and we did the first session. And from my understanding, from his perspective, he was just like, something just felt right about it. You know, I did it initially because it was like family friend. Fuck, I'm not really doing nothing. I'll just do it. But once we got in that session, we were talking about influences and where we want to take this music stuff in the direction we're trying to go musically. It just seemed from his perspective like, oh, this kid is kind of onto something. And the organic relationship that we had was a sign for both of us. And he was like, there's something here that we can foster, and that could be. But Jared's like, he's my sensei. I call him sensei all the time because it really does feel like early on he saw something in that first session and went, there's definitely something there. And because he's a producer and an artist within his own right, he really helped bring that out of me. Even still now, like the new stuff that we have that isn't even coming out for a while is so nuts, only because he gets more talented as time progresses. I get more talented as time progresses. And when we come together, the synergy that we have in that studio is really special, and we're able to make some really impressive stuff. So I think he saw that very early on. It was like, regardless of the lack of Spotify listeners or how young and new he is, there's something here that I should probably take a risk on.
I mean, this is what makes producers great producers, if they know how to capture a sound for an artist. And I mean, How incredible is that, right? I mean, 2 albums produced. He knew exactly what you needed. You knew exactly what you needed. What was it about his production that captured you so much?
I always tell him he's so dynamic and he's so versatile. And I'm a kind of person, I love music. I don't just love one genre of music. I love music as a whole. And he is the same way. Like he grew up listening to like punk, like Sex Pistols and a bunch of alternative rock stuff and grunge stuff. And then also being a huge Wu-Tang fan. And that's me. Like I grew up listening to like Sonic Youth. Like I was a baby listening to Sonic Youth and Amy and like the Soulquarian movement. And on top of that, listening to like Grave Diggers and Killer Bees and, KMD. So when we meet up, the language that we speak isn't just like a linear, like this one thing. It's like kaleidoscopic almost. Like there's so many different fractals and styles and pockets that we can dip in and out of and talk about and understand without even really speaking on it because we're both lovers of music. But his production is so dynamic and unique, and there's so many influences that are woven into the simplicity, like the simple stuff, like even drum patterns and the sound of the drums, how we're using synths and chords, where we want to go with them. Like on Ghost Log, one of the things we loved doing was using like rock drum kits on hip hop tracks, and like a lot of people don't really care about that kind of shit. But that's how we got a song like August. August came about because I was like, I want like rock drums in a hip hop pocket with the fills like of a soul song or like a church song. And he was like, okay, yeah, I know how to do that. And that on paper sounds stupid, but he gets where I'm going with it. So
do you have this deep need to like do something completely different?
I would say it's organic. I feel like when you try too hard to be different, you end up being the same. And I don't approach music in a way where it's like, I gotta have the most weird, unorthodox. Once again, like if we tie it back to the lyricism thing, if you try too hard to be different, you're gonna just be like everybody else trying hard to be different. I connect that to like the need for experimentation, just for like once again, love of music. And people who love music and the people that I look up to who love music, they just like sharing music, and I like sharing music with people in the world. Like if I wasn't making music, I would be sharing music. I'd be running a blog or a playlist because I just like the idea of, hey, you like this rap song? Or do you also like this other track? Yeah, right. Yeah. Do you also love this soul song? Do you like this house track? Do you like this punk track? Do you like this shoegaze song? It comes from just a love of music. Like I was listening to Suicide the other day and I was like, I want to make something with Suicide drums. Like I love Alan Vega and I love like the post-punk movement, Talking Heads and stuff like that. I'm going to rap over a beat like that at some point. Just because I like it. Not because I'm trying to be weird. I just like it.
Just a side note that I thought was really cool because it got me nostalgic again was when I found that song that you, Jared, and rapper Big Pooh did, Lucy Lou. Little brother for me has a very special place in my life and my heart. And did you guys record that together? Like, did you have a chance to connect with Pooh on that song? Or
I did not, but the funny thing about that song is I bullied my way onto that song. Like I was not supposed to be on that song. I remember Jared had posted a preview of it on his Instagram and I swiped up and I said, yeah, I gotta be on this. Like the beat was so crazy. I was like, I have to rap on this. And he was like, we'll see. I'm trying to get Little Brother on it. I'm trying to get Big Pooh on it. And I was like, dude, give me 20 seconds. Like I will blitz that track. And then the conversation kind of died down. And then we had a session. I came out to LA. This is back when I was still in New York. I came out to LA. We had a session. At the end of the session, it was like, by the way, there's a verse open on that track. I'm calling it Lucy Lou. If you want it, you'd have to write to it pretty quickly because I want to get it all finessed and sent off to mixing and mastering ASAP. And I also was leaving within the next like 3 days or something like that to go back home. I was like, say no more. I went to the crib and I wrote it that night and I either texted him or called him or maybe we had a session the next day and I was like, I'm ready to go. And I one take Jaked it and I was out of there. And I was like, I told you I was going to be on this song. Good, bad, or indifferent. I was going to be on this track. But rapping with Big Pooh is crazy.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, like, how does that make you feel? I mean, very generic question, but like still, how does that make you feel to be on a song with such a legendary figure?
Like, it's awesome. Like that's a notch on the belt. Like that's a gemstone in my UFC title. Like that kind of stuff is what I love about music, you know, is not necessarily a passing of the torch moment, but this crazy cultural time, like little brother and then this young kid rapping on the same song. It's such an amazing moment. And I think his verse is so crazy on that song, and getting the chance to rap before him and then hand it off. Like it was just a very special,
crazy.
Grateful for that moment. Grateful for Jared for letting me cook up on that track.
But the logistics, like, because I'm not fully aware of how the business side works. Like, does Jared have to ask him to, or can he just have you be as a feature on the song, or does he have to talk to Big Pooh and tell him, hey, I got this young rapper that I want to put on? Or
you gotta ask that man. I got no idea. Once I heard the call to action, I took my opportunity, and that's all I know.
I want to go back to Ghost Log Cabin a little bit. This first project of yours that dealt with a lot of very deep and serious emotions, you know, talking about childhood trauma and abuse. And I love this idea that music is such an incredible vessel, like therapeutic vessel. And does recording an album like that with such deep and serious subjects, does that kind of put an end in some way to the things that you've dealt with?
You know, it's interesting about trauma, and especially putting trauma in art, is that it does, in a sense, help you put a period on the sentence, but it's still there. You know, there's still days where I'm like, oh my God, and I think about certain stuff, or I think about the project, or I think about the effort that went into thinking about my childhood that I had to do to make the project, and it floods me with other memories. And you know, but making Ghost Log was a super therapeutic process for me. And I think it really did help me on my journey, but it is a journey, and it's a lifelong journey. It's just about what we do in this life that helps us mitigate those feelings and mitigate those emotions as we continue down this path. But working on Ghost definitely helped me come to terms with a lot of stuff.
How was the transition for you to go to your second album, in terms of themes that you covered on that, in terms of learnings, you know, going from your debut project to your second project? What are things that you take with you, and what are things that you kind of leave behind when recording a second project?
It was so hard, not just in the regular making an album is difficult sense. I had underwent so many drastic life changes, and because of the first project, I had kind of crept into the music industry on a very low level, but I had crept in nonetheless. And I was kind of like bombarded with a series of bullshit, like back to back to back, just getting hit in over the head with the real dark side of the music industry and stuff that like rocked my core. I went into a writer's block for like close to a year of just straight, I cannot rap, because I was this like wide-eyed kid, super excited about making music, had made this project just in a small studio space, in a small studio room, and put it out for the world. Hey, good, bad, or take it. And people responded, and the industry responded, and the people with money responded, and the executives at labels responded, and the bloggers responded. And I was like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? This is awesome. And then it's like the Lord of the Rings. Once you touch that ring, everything changes. Like everything changes. And being up close to that really distorted my perception of art, and it made it really hard to make new stuff. So I went through like a year-long writer's block. But when I came out of it, I felt like I had so much to say. But with the problem with working on Che was I was so hurt. So it was learning how to make music that wasn't like venomously bitter. Like the early Che demos of like songs that didn't make the cut are so bitter, are so venomous. Like borderline, like every song was a diss track. Like I was just dissing like everybody. And I was off the path of making art because it was a representation of myself. And I was in the zone of like proving people wrong. Like I want to prove people wrong. I want to fight these people. I want to argue with these people. I want to say all these things. So the transition period was really difficult, but I'm glad that it happened because I love that album. And I think towards the tail end of making it, we really hit a beautiful stride and made some really lush and awesome sounding stuff. And then, trimming the fat of the record, we were able to leave a lot of the early mistakes, the excusable mistakes that I made during Ghost Log. Like Ghost Log, I didn't even record on. I recorded on a handheld mic. I didn't record on a real microphone. And I didn't record in a booth. I recorded sitting in the control room. So stuff like that, technical stuff, and then songwriting stuff, conceptual stuff, narrative stuff, where we're able to transfer the positive and leave the negative.
To me, it's so crazy for you to tell me that story about that writer's block period and that period in between those two albums, because to the outside world, like, everything looked incredible, right? 2021, your project drops, you have Pigeons and Planes, listing you as, best new artist. You have Lyrical Lemonade features coming out. There's so many people catching up to you. And for you to say that this didn't really do too much good, but rather kind of blocked you in your creative process is interesting to hear. I would have never thought that. I thought that this is kind of, you seeing all these crazy things happening and everyone wanting, to get in touch with you and writing about you, that this is such an incredible thing that they will boost you, but it doesn't sound like that had the impact.
When shiny things are around, all types of people come towards it, not just the good people. And like the Pigeons and Planes and Lyrical Lemonade, like that, like salute to those people, because those guys are like awesome. Like those publications and those people are dope, but they're the people that we don't speak about, like the situations that we don't talk about. And that's just, as an artist, like that's what other artists need to understand, is like we're all fighting a fight. Like there are some of us who are not at all, right? They're in such great positions and positions of privilege that they're just kind of reaping the benefits of their career. And much like Godspeed to them, you made it. You did the right thing. But the vast majority of, like, especially independent underground artists, we're fighting the fight. We're towing the line of like, what do we do? Like, are these people legitimate? They're trying to help us? Are they trying to hurt us? Where are we supposed to go? What are we supposed to do? Who are we supposed to talk to? Are we supposed to sign this contract? Should we not sign this contract? Should I listen to this guy? Should I not listen to this guy? How fast do I need to make new music? Do people care about substantive art? Can I make an art piece and people respond to it? Everyone's telling me no. So a lot of great stuff definitely happened as a result of Ghost Log. And it put me in a position that I'm in now, where I can be like having this conversation with you and making other stuff and collaborating with certain people, because, my track record reads so, and I have these certain looks. But it definitely did usher in like a cavalcade of other issues that put a damper on progress for a bit. That's what they don't tell you. That's what they don't tell you.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's interesting. Like I've had a lot of conversations, throughout this podcast with a lot of incredible artists, and they've mentioned similar things. They've mentioned that, a lot of artists mentioned that there's always someone out there to get you. And it's a shame, it's a shame that this is kind of what people have to go through. And I'm wondering, how do you find help with that? Like, what helps you navigating through these challenges and navigating through these situations where you're unsure if you should sign the contract, where you're unsure if you should talk to that person? How does that work for you? Like, how do you make the right decision in these moments? That's
the sad thing about what's going on in the industry right now. I talk to my mom and I talk to myself. I talk to Jared, Jared's, I thank God that he's in my life, because I'll run stuff by him and be like, is this weird? And he's like, this is super weird. But he's also his own person, and I have to make my own decisions. And sometimes it's not even about, is this weird? It's like, what do you feel? I can't tell you what how to feel about the situation. And that's, like I said, it's the issue with what's going on in the industry right now. Is there's a lot of people who, artists are dreamers. We're emotional. We're sensitive. We care about what we're doing. We're not business people. We become business people out of necessity, but we're not executives. And executives and people in the industry that choose to do bad know that. And they seek that out in people. They seek out novice, young, bright-eyed kids who want to just make songs all day. And it's incumbent on the artists themselves to be like, hey, like, I got to figure out my business. I got to really read this contract. I have to really listen to what's not being said in this conversation that I'm having with this person, or why is I did this and my money's looking like this. It's just trial and error. You're going to get fucked over at some point.
But can you, because you mentioned, this question that you would ask Jared is like, is this weird? Like, can you, without naming names, obviously, but can you give a concrete example of a weird situation that has happened? Like, what are people trying to get out of you? Like, are they trying to get you to sign contracts and have you be indebted to them for the rest of your life? Like, what is the weird situation about the music industry?
Let me try to find the proper way to say this. It's just people's intentions. Like, I'll be like, hey, Jared, I spoke to this person, or I had this conversation with this person, and this person said this, and this. And the second thing, and I think they're trying to sign me. I think they're like, is it a waste of my time? Should I spend time fostering this relationship with this person? They're asking me to send them demos. Like, they want a ton of demos from me. Should I send them a bunch of demos? Does it make any sense? And Jared will be like, no, like, why are they doing that? Why are they doing this? It's odd that they would ask you to send this much unreleased music, like that you have to fully release projects. Why are they doing that? Just send them 2 demos. And then if they want to continue the conversation. Oh, why would they say this about, I've had people in the past lightly, in a weird way, criticize like my mother's involvement in my music. Like, because since I have no manager, she acts as that. And I've had people be like, that's kind of annoying. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, and I'll run that by Jared. Like, is that weird? And he's like, yeah, that's weird. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's odd. And like I said before, like certain individuals asking for a ton of unreleased music or asking me they bring a producer in and they're like, work with this producer and make this song. And I'm like, well, why am I doing this? Like, what is the point of this right now? And then I never hear from them again. And then that song comes out and you're like, what? That song sounds an awful lot like what I worked on. Like, where am I in this picture? And then just certain individuals looking to you to see what they can take, like what energy or creative style or aesthetic that they can siphon out of you. It's so difficult to talk about the weird little landmines in this game without just fully being like this, and this. Like,
yeah. But I understand.
That's my around the way answer.
I want no change, wondering if it'll all be okay. I block my face. Will I find my happy when it's all in place? I hate my life, but you do it so well. I wanna tell you what's going on now. There's a lot to say. Please just come my way. There's a lot to say. I'm sinking day by day. And poetry, but impose my delivering of my youth and my truth. I then turn mute almost instantly, yet compound with his misery. Some hearts breaking and villainy. I'm surprised that I ain't put down a line. My dreams are coming to fruition. I ain't feeling alive. I'm seeing their eyes hawks. I'm praying they about to die. Executives hitting the jack. In fact, a few of them live, but who can disguise the snake tongue when they smelling the prize? Searching for the air. I'm standing here attacking.
This was a snippet of Che's song April 16th. And now back to the interview. In the end, though, you have enough confidence that you believe in yourself enough to go this path on your own, right? To pursue this career on your own. That's kind of what it comes down to in the end, right?
Yeah, I was watching this interview with JPEG Mafia, and he was like, I'm either going to make music rich or make music and die broke. That's all I got. And that's me. Like, that's all I got. All I got is art. You know, I act, I write, I make music. That's all I got. I don't want to do anything else, you know? And so if I understand that in my heart, there's no reason that I shouldn't be giving it 110% and fully believing like, oh no, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life successfully. Because if I go into this being like, hey man, maybe it works, maybe being independent works, maybe working solo works, it's not going to work. And I know in my heart, the only thing I have is this. The only thing I want to do is this. I'm not going to waste my time doing something I don't want to do, that I'm going to be miserable at. I'm going to spend my time doing something I want to do.
That's why you quit your job in 2021, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to fully pursue music.
Yeah. It's always been this first. And out here, like, it's just this right now. And I'm so grateful that it's just this. Because I get to do so much more. And the stuff that I'm making right now is so much better than the stuff that I've made in the past. And I've gotten a chance to really grow due to how committed I am to art and how consistent I am with making stuff.
How does that happen that you got so much better over the last year since releasing your last project?
I'm very competitive. I'm like healthily competitive. I show love. I love supporting other artists, but I'm still very competitive. I was a big battle rap fan growing up, so that is like in my spirit. And like I said before, it's also just listening to a ton of music and adopting styles and transposing styles and being like, what if I did this and this and this, and try to get out of my comfort zone a little bit and rap over this weird beat. And then you do it and you're like, oh, this isn't the right way to do it right now, but I can figure it out. And then you naturally become better. I'm also getting older. Like I'm looking at my past records and listening to what I've done and being like, okay, I like this, I don't like that. It's like the same process that every artist goes through. You deconstruct what you previously worked on and you extrapolate the good stuff and leave the stuff that you're like, all right, I don't want to do that anymore. I think I can go in this direction instead.
Something I need to go back to, because we switched to a different subject, but something when we were talking about that Big Pooh and Jared feature, this idea of sometimes working with other artists, giving you the chance maybe for more visibility and them having more, larger streaming numbers and stuff like that. Your song Tiramisu, for example, is at I think 800,000 streams on Spotify, which close to 1 million. That's is this success to you? Like, do you have this numerical aspect of the music industry in mind with everything that you do? And does that weigh on your shoulder to like look at numbers, or is that something that you don't really care about?
I think every artist at a certain point really cares about the numbers. And I know, like, when I first released my project, I did not care at all because I didn't think it was going to do anything. And then I only started to care when the industry started to care. And when I was talking to labels and they're like, look at these numbers, look at your numbers here, we could do the numbers better there. Then I became obsessed with it. However, where I'm at right now, I don't care about the numbers because good music, there's so many great, like, musicians that we look at, we're like, these musicians are classic musicians who in their early stages, no one cared about. And the record that everyone's like, Minnie Riperton was not successful for a very long time. Like, Connie Converse was never successful until years after she passed. Nick Drake killed himself because his music was not selling. And now he's one of the most well-documented, well-renowned singer-songwriters of all time. He revolutionized the genre. You know what I mean? The Velvet Underground exploded in popularity years later. So it doesn't really matter to me what the numbers say anymore, because I just want to make great stuff, because great stuff will speak for itself. And I enjoy making good stuff. I don't enjoy staring at numbers, because focusing on the numerical value of music will make your music generic, because there's a lot of songs that blow up that I don't like. I don't know why they blow up, and I don't really care because I'm not going to listen to it. Someone's going to listen to it. Enjoy that. That's good for you. But I more so care about great music, just making fun stuff that I want to listen to, and stuff that I feel like is good and that will stand the test of time. And while I feel like I've outgrown Ghost and I've outgrown my last record, I can still go back to it and be like, this is good music. I'll listen to like Golden Goose. I'll be like, oh, I rapped my ass off, dude. Like, that was awesome. That's sick. I'm glad. People heard the story. People felt the impact. I listened to Chan. People were like, oh, you can sing? Like, that's beautiful. And I do these live shows and I see, like, people have texted me about Nobody Around Us and been like, this song is beautiful and painful. I've done interviews about my last record and people were like, the way you told the story, the way you structured this narrative, it was really eye-opening to where your brain's at right now. Stuff like that matters to me. Numbers come and go. Just because you have a lot of numbers, and also we know now, just because you have a lot of numbers doesn't mean you're really doing that well. Doesn't matter anymore. People could be, your numbers could look fire, and you could not be doing that well. I'd rather make great stuff and give it up to God than focus on what the metadata reads.
We've been talking so much about, you wanting to make great stuff, and you are doing great stuff. And I would love to know what you're currently working on, with Judy, came out 2 months ago. Are you in album mode now?
Well, Judy was the lead single off my upcoming EP, Yellow Machine. Yukon Gold's out now. So that's the second single. I just, for Yellow Machine initially was going to be part of this big album that I'm working on right now. But as I sat back and really started like doing the concept stuff and the narrative stuff, the songs that are going to be on Yellow Machine just don't fit that mold of what's coming next. So I was like, let me just do an EP. But as of right now, EP's been done for a minute, completely in album mode. I had a session not that long, like a week ago, where we worked on like a track for the record, and it's like insane. Like the experimentation that we were talking about early on is in full display. I feel like I'm kind of at a point where I can really pull, rather than just, okay, we're going to use punk drums on this rap song and put it in a rap pocket. No, we're going to give you a In Utero Wipers Mud Honey beat switch, and I'm going to like give you like a half punk song, and then we're going to go out. Like the experimentation is on display. It's organic. I have not been this excited to finish something and give it to the public since Ghost Log Cabin, truth be told. Because that was the baby. So I was like, I feel like that starry-eyed kid again that just loves making music because I love making music, and I love trying things because I love trying things. So I cannot wait for people to hear that when it comes out. And there's so much extra stuff that I'm doing on top of just the music stuff, which I did for Ghost Log, that I didn't get the chance to do for Che, that I really wish I could have done for Che. But we're getting back into doing that.
You did a short film, right? Like a short movie for Ghost Log.
I did it. Well, we did a short film for Ghost Log, and then we did like this. Me and my friend Mati, shout out to Mati. He coded like from the ground up this like ARG website that connected to the like short film. It was Blair Witch inspired. I was trying to play off like how in Blair Witch people didn't know that the actors were actors, and they thought they were dead in real life, and they had the website set up for like, where are these people if you help us find them? So we did that with Ghost Log as well. And that's what I love about music as a like Gambino fan, because the internet, the screenplay, stuff like that. And then this next project that I'm working on, that's the mode that I'm getting back into. It's like hyper lyricism, hyper art, just every corner of everything. We're packing it out with authenticity and organic, like how I feel about art, what I want to give to the world.
In that whole process of creating a new piece of yourself and a piece of art, is there something currently that you believe you really need to get better at, that you look at critically and you think that you need to invest more time in?
I owe everything always. Like I always think I could be getting better at every aspect of making music. One thing that I really want to get better at, like in particular, is engineering, like self-engineering. I just think in terms of workflow, it would really help me get stuff out the door a lot faster, because I've been a terrible engineer. Like I cannot record myself. But as of late, I've been doing it for a lot of like demo stuff I've been working on, and some other things that may or may not be coming out soon after the EP. So engineering, I would say, is like the number one thing right now. But in general, I just always I could be getting better at rapping. I could be getting better at singing. I could be getting better at, aspects of production, like playing guitar and shit like that.
What do you do this all for?
What do I do this all for? I do it for my uncle, bro. And I do it for my grandpa. And I do it for my mother. And I do it for the people who have literally, like my mother literally sacrificed her life so that I could be happy. And I know parents are supposed to do that, but when you sit down and think about like you as an individual, would you give up everything, dreams, hopes, aspirations for someone you don't know yet? That's a really heavy question. And some people say no, you know? But she, from age 0, from the moment I popped out of her, was like, it's his world. Give it to him. What does he want to do? You want to be a musician? Okay, I'm going to support. There's so many people that I know that want to do things in the creative space. And their parents are like, hey, you're out of your mind. Like, relax and go to med school or go be an engineer. Or, you know, I was the football star. You're going to go play football. And my mom has never been like that. And my grandfather is like, he's an older Puerto Rican man, like immigrant, old, like hustled his entire life, busted his ass, like factory worker, old dude. But he wanted to be a musician. And you would expect someone like that, who's kind of an old school dude, to be like, oh, go get a job. He's like, Papi, go to LA and take it over. Run. And just keep running. And even if your feet hurt, if your legs are sore, if your knees start popping, just run, because I didn't get the chance to run. Because I came to this country and I had to sustain a family immediately. And my uncle, may God rest his soul, was a musician, but he was so troubled that he didn't get the chance to actually enjoy being an artist. He couldn't live his life out to see what he could have become. And so I have this passion, and, you know, I have this gift. It's only right. It is my duty, because of all the people that came before me and my family who have given up for me to pursue this, to pursue it 110%, all gas, no brakes. And wherever I end up, whatever becomes of me is what becomes of me. But I'll get to sit down and look at my family and go, I did it for y'all, and I gave it everything I had, and that's all that matters.
Che, thank you so much for this incredible conversation.
Thank you, Miles. I appreciate it.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you, man. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I'm grateful that I love what you're doing. Keep doing what you do. We need more spaces and people like you that are really interested in like independent, up and coming artists who are doing their own thing, and you're not doing it for any other reason but loving the music and loving creativity. So thank you very much, man.
Thank you so much.
Judy don't play, Judy may flirt. Judy said, babe, I swear this won't hurt. Judy saw me, but I saw her first. She rudely bought me and picked on my shirt. Time had delayed.
This was Unsigned Hype episode 31 with Che. The track you're hearing right now is Che's song Judy. Make sure to support Che by checking out his music and following him on social media. And for your weekly Unsigned Hype, make sure to subscribe to this podcast and follow us on all socials as well. All the links are in the show notes below.
They just don't understand the type that you is, cause that's just Judy. It's just Judy. I feel I'm on the way down, but I just wanna see the sun. I feel you on your way out, but to you I still run. Judy, 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 Judy. Oh, Judy, 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 you're my Judy. Heart on my sleeve, brain not in head. Toss and turn, toss again while in bed. Bit of my baby bounce, but bruises build quick. Now bring me back to the joy that was spent. No sense and no sense, just tense the past tense. Done left my soul bent, my life's so whirlwind. It's like my world end. My man said, damn fam, just land on y'all feet. It feels like I'm swimming deep in concrete. A piece of my peace, it fleet, I go weak in slow-mo. My heart done frozen, sunk deep. I should have seen this, I should have seen this. Oh, Judy, my Judy, why'd you leave quick? I feel I'm on the way down, but I just wanna see